You can't have me, thank you. I don't need your flowers.
The entire cafe went silent. I could feel every pair of eyes burning into the back of my head as I stood there, my curly hair pulled into a high puff, my nursing textbook tucked under one arm. Jae-won Park stood in front of me, his smooth black hair perfectly styled, his designer jacket fitting him like it was made specifically for his frame, which it probably was. He held out a single red rose, that devastating smile on his face that made half the girls on campus lose their ability to form coherent sentences. "Sienna," he said, his voice smooth, with just a hint of his Korean accent. "I'd really like to take you to dinner this Friday." I looked at the rose, then at him, then back at the rose. "No thank you," I said, my voice steady and clear. The collective gasp that went through the cafe was almost comical. Someone's phone clattered onto a table. I saw Jessica Martinez's jaw literally drop open. Jae-won blinked, clearly not expecting that response. Nobody said no to Jae-won Park. He was the exchange student from one of Seoul's wealthiest families, studying business at Redwood University. Every girl wanted him. Even some of the guys wanted to be him. But I wasn't every girl. "I'm sorry," he said, like maybe he misheard me. I said no, but thank you for asking. I adjusted my textbook and walked past him, my head held high, leaving him standing there with that rose still extended. Welcome back to my channel, beautiful people. Before we dive deeper into this emotional journey, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button and smash that, because today's story is going to teach you something powerful about knowing your worth and not settling just because everyone else thinks you should. If you're new here, subscribe, drop a like, and comment below telling me where you're watching from. Trust me, you don't want to miss how this unfolds. Now, let's get back to the story. I made it exactly 3 steps outside the cafe before my roommate Tasha caught up with me, practically sprinting. "Girl, have you lost your entire mind?" she gasped, grabbing my arm. "That was Jae-won Park, the Jae-won Park. I know who he is, Tasha." "Then why would you turn him down? Do you see him? Do you see his face? His family probably owns half of Seoul. He drives a Mercedes, Sienna." I kept walking toward the library, my safe space. So what? I'm supposed to fall at his feet because he has money and a nice face. "Yes," Tasha said dramatically. "That's exactly what you're supposed to do. That's what literally any sane person would do." I stopped walking and turned to face her. "Look, I didn't come to Redwood to find a boyfriend. I came here on a nursing scholarship that I worked my tail off to get. My mama is working 2 jobs back home in Atlanta to help me with what the scholarship doesn't cover. I'm not about to let some pretty boy with a charming smile derail everything I've worked for." Tasha's expression softened. "This is still about Marcus, isn't it?" My jaw tightened at the mention of that name. Marcus, my ex from freshman year. The basketball player with the perfect smile and the smooth words who told me I was his world, right up until I caught him with not 1, but 2 other girls. That was 6 months ago, and I promised myself I'd never be that stupid again. "This has nothing to do with Marcus," I lied. "This has to do with me knowing what I want, and what I want is to graduate top of my class and become the best trauma nurse this state has ever seen. Not to be some rich boy's latest conquest." "But what if he genuinely likes you?" Tasha asked softly. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Boys like Jae-won don't genuinely like girls like me. We're challenges, puzzles to solve. The one that got away. Trust me, he'll move on to the next girl by tomorrow." I was wrong, so incredibly wrong. The next day, Jae-won showed up at the library during my study session. He didn't say anything, just sat at the table across from mine, opened his laptop, and started working. When I looked up, he smiled. Not the devastating smile he'd given me in the cafe. This one was smaller, almost shy. I ignored him and went back to my anatomy notes. He came back the next day, and the day after that. By Thursday, I was fed up. I slammed my textbook closed, earning annoyed looks from other students, and marched over to his table. "What are you doing?" I whispered harshly. He looked up, those dark eyes meeting mine with an innocence that had to be fake. "Studying. This is the library. You know what I mean. Why are you following me?" "I'm not following you. I study here every Thursday." "Since when?" "Since last Thursday," he said simply. "When I noticed you come here every day at 2 o'clock. You always sit at the table by the window. You drink green tea, no sugar. You twist one of your curls around your finger when you're concentrating really hard." My breath caught. He'd been watching me that closely. "That's creepy," I managed to say. "Is it?" he asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. "Or is it just paying attention?" I didn't have an answer for that, so I went back to my table. But I couldn't concentrate anymore. I could feel his presence like a physical weight, and when I unconsciously reached up to twist a curl around my finger, I caught him smiling and quickly stopped. Friday morning, I found him waiting outside my 8 a.m. class. I tried to walk past him, but he fell into step beside me. "Good morning, Sienna." "Morning," I muttered, adjusting my backpack. I was thinking, that's dangerous. He laughed, and the sound was so genuine, it caught me off guard. "I was thinking that maybe you said no because I asked wrong, so I wanted to try again." Jae-won. "Not asking you on a date," he interrupted quickly. "Just asking if you'd be willing to grab coffee with me, as friends. No pressure, just two people talking." I stopped walking and faced him. Students flowed around us like water around rocks. "Why me?" "What?" "Why me?" I repeated. "You could have any girl on this campus. Jessica Martinez has been trying to get your attention since orientation. Katie Chen literally writes her phone number on your coffee cup every morning at Brewhaven. So why are you wasting your time chasing someone who's already told you no? Because you're the only one who's real. What does that even mean?" He ran a hand through his hair, messing up that perfect style. "Do you know what it's like to never know if people like you, for you, or for what you represent? My entire life, people have wanted to be close to me because of my family name, because of money, because of connections. Girls here are no different. They see the car, the clothes, the background. They don't see me." "And you think I see you?" I challenged. "No," he said quietly. "But you don't see the other stuff either. When you look at me, you just see a person. Do you know how rare that is?" I wanted to stay angry. I wanted to brush him off and walk away. But something in his voice, in the vulnerability of his words, made me pause. "One coffee," I heard myself say. 30 minutes, and if you pull any smooth moves, I'm out." His face lit up like I'd just given him the world. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Brewhaven?" "Fine, but I'm buying my own coffee. I wouldn't have it any other way." That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Tasha painted her nails on her bed across the room. "So you're going out with Prince Charming tomorrow," she said, not looking up from her work. "It's not a date, it's just coffee." "Mm-hmm. Keep telling yourself that." "I'm serious, Tasha. I'm just being polite." She finally looked at me, one eyebrow raised. "Sienna Brooks, I've known you for 2 years. You've never been polite to a guy who asked you out. Remember Tyler from our biology class? You told him you'd rather dissect a frog than go to dinner with him." I couldn't help but smile at the memory. He was annoying. He was interested, just like Jwan is interested. The difference is, you might actually be interested back, and that scares you. "I'm not scared. You're terrified," Tasha said gently. "And I get it. Marcus did a number on you. But Sienna, not every guy is Marcus. Some of them are actually good. And how am I supposed to know which is which? You pay attention. Watch how they treat other people, not just you. Listen to what they say when they think it doesn't matter. And sometimes, you just have to take a risk. I pulled my blanket up higher. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Then just have coffee, Tasha said, going back to her nails. See what happens. No pressure, no expectations. Just see. Saturday morning came too quickly. I changed my outfit 3 times before settling on jeans and a simple sweater, my curls loose and natural around my shoulders. When I caught myself putting on lip gloss, I almost canceled. But I didn't. Jae-won was already at Brew Haven when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee. He stood when he saw me, and I noticed he was wearing jeans and a simple hoodie. No designer jacket, no styled hair, just him. I know you said you'd buy your own, he said as I approached, but I got here early and figured I'd get a head start. It's just green tea, no sugar. If that's presumptuous, I can get you something else. I sat down, wrapping my hands around the warm cup. It's fine, thank you. For a moment, we just sat there in slightly awkward silence. Then we both spoke at the same time. So, we laughed, and something eased in my chest. You first, I said. Jae-won leaned back in his chair, his fingers playing with his own coffee cup. I wanted to apologize for putting you on the spot in the cafe. That wasn't fair. I was trying to be romantic, but I didn't think about how it would feel for you to have everyone watching. I wasn't expecting that. Oh, thank you. My friends said I should go big or go home. They didn't mention that sometimes big is just uncomfortable. Your friends sound like they watch too many movies. He grinned. They really do. Last week they tried to convince me to hire a skywriter. A skywriter? For what? To ask you out. I told them that was absolutely insane. I found myself smiling despite my best efforts. That would have been insane, and also kind of impressive in a completely over-the-top way. I'll keep that in mind for next time. There's not going to be a next time. We'll see. We talked for 2 hours, not 30 minutes. 2 full hours. He told me about growing up in Seoul, about the pressure from his family to take over the business, about how he actually wanted to study architecture, but didn't know how to tell his father. I told him about my mom, about growing up in a small apartment, but never feeling like we were missing anything because we had each other, about my dream of working in emergency medicine. Why emergency medicine? He asked. Because those are the moments that matter most, I said, surprised by my own honesty. Those moments between life and death, where everything hangs in the balance. I want to be the person who tips the scale toward life. He looked at me like he was seeing something he'd never seen before. That's beautiful. It's just the truth. The truth can be beautiful. When we finally left the coffee shop, the sun was starting to set. We walked slowly across campus, neither of us in a hurry to end the conversation. Can I ask you something? Jae-won said as we reached the path that split toward our respective dorms. You're going to anyway. He smiled. Fair point. Why did you really say no that day in the cafe? I stopped walking, considering my answer. I could lie. I could brush it off. But something about the way he'd been so honest with me made me want to be honest back. Because I've been hurt before, I said quietly. By someone who said all the right things and made all the right promises and then showed me that none of it was real. And when I saw you standing there with that rose and that smile, all I could think was that this was going to be the same thing. Another pretty boy with pretty words who'd eventually show me that I was just entertainment. Jae-won didn't say anything for a long moment. Then he stepped closer, close enough that I could see the flecks of brown in his dark eyes. I'm not him, he said softly. I know I can't prove that with words. Words are easy. But Sienna, I'd like the chance to prove it with actions. I'd like the chance to show you that when I say I think you're remarkable, I mean it. When I say I want to know you better, I mean that too. All I'm asking for is a chance. My heart was pounding so hard, I was sure he could hear it. I don't know if I can do that. Then don't decide now. Just let me be your friend. Let me show up. Let me be consistent. And if at the end of all that, you still don't trust me, I'll accept it and walk away. But Sienna, I really don't want to walk away. I should have said no. Every logical part of my brain was screaming at me to protect myself, to keep my walls up, to not let him in. But there was something about the way he looked at me, something genuine that felt like maybe, just maybe, he was telling the truth. Okay, I whispered. Friends. His smile was like sunrise. Friends. The next few weeks were strange. Jae-won kept his word. He didn't push. He didn't try to make moves. He just showed up. At the library for our Thursday study sessions. At Brewhaven on Saturday mornings. He texted me funny memes at night and asked how my mom was doing. When we got assigned as partners for our intercultural communication project, Tasha declared it fate. I declared it unfortunate coincidence. But working with him was easier than I wanted to admit. We met at his apartment for planning sessions, and I discovered he was actually kind of messy in a lived-in, comfortable way. His roommate, another Korean exchange student named Dae-hyun, made the best kimchi fried rice I'd ever tasted. So you're the famous Sienna, Dae-hyun said the first time I came over, his English heavily accented but enthusiastic. The girl who makes Jae-won act like a lost puppy. I do not act like a lost puppy, Jae-won protested, his ears turning red. You absolutely do, Dae-hyun continued, unbothered. He talks about you constantly. Sienna said this. Sienna did that. Sienna smiled at me today. It's adorable and also slightly nauseating. I'm going to kill you, Jae-won muttered. But he was smiling. I tried not to think too hard about what that meant, about how it made my stomach flip in a way that felt dangerous. One night, we were working late on our project presentation. It was just the two of us, Dae-hyun having gone to bed hours ago. Rain drummed against the windows, creating a cocoon of sound around us. I think we're done, I said, saving our final changes. We make a pretty good team. We do, Jae-won agreed. He closed his laptop and stretched, his hoodie riding up slightly. Do you want some tea before you go? The rain's pretty heavy. Sure. He went to the small kitchen area while I wandered around the living room, looking at the photos on the shelf. Most were of Jae-won with various friends and family. One caught my eye, a younger Jae-won, maybe 14 or 15, standing with an older man in front of a massive building. That's my father, Jae-won said, coming back with 2 mugs. He handed me one. That was taken the day he showed me the company headquarters. He said one day it would all be mine. You don't sound excited about that. He sat on the couch, and after a moment, I sat beside him. Not too close, but not far either. I'm not, he admitted. I love my father. I respect what he's built. But it's his dream, not mine. I want to design buildings, create spaces that make people feel something. But he sees that as a hobby, not a career. Have you told him? I've tried. He doesn't listen. In his mind, there's only one path for me, and it's the one he's laid out. I thought about my own mom, about how she'd worked herself to exhaustion to support my dreams. My mom would support me no matter what I chose. Even when I said I wanted to be a nurse instead of a doctor, like she'd hoped, she just hugged me and said she was proud. I can't imagine having that pressure. You're lucky, Jae-won said, but there was no bitterness in his voice. Your mother sounds incredible. She is. She's everything. We sat in comfortable silence, sipping our tea and listening to the rain. Then Jae-won spoke again, his voice softer. Can I tell you something? Of course. You're the first person I've told about the architecture thing. The first person who didn't immediately tell me I was being foolish or impractical. I looked at him. His smooth hair was slightly mussed from running his hands through it while we worked. His eyes were tired but warm. and there was something vulnerable in his expression that made my chest ache. "It's not foolish," I said. "Dreams aren't foolish. They're what make us human." He set his mug down and turned to face me fully. "Sienna, Whatever he was going to say died as his hand came up, his fingers gently touching one of my curls. The touch was featherlight, almost reverent. "I love your hair," he whispered. "It's beautiful. You're beautiful." My breath caught. We were close now, so close I could see the individual lashes framing his eyes, could feel the warmth radiating from his body. He leaned in slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away. And I wanted to let him kiss me. God, I wanted it so much it physically hurt. But the fear was stronger. I pulled back abruptly, standing up so fast I nearly knocked over my tea. "I should go. Sienna. It's late, the rain's not that bad. I should go." I grabbed my bag and practically ran for the door. Behind me, I heard him say my name again, but I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. Because if I stopped, if I let myself feel what I was feeling, I knew I'd fall. And falling meant risking everything I'd worked so hard to protect. I avoided him after that, dodged his texts with one-word answers, found new places to study. When we had to present our project, I was professional and distant, and the hurt in his eyes was almost enough to break my resolve. Almost. Tasha was fed up with me by the end of the week. "You're being ridiculous," she said, blocking my path as I tried to leave our dorm room. "I'm being careful." "No, you're being scared. There's a difference." "Maybe I have a right to be scared." "You absolutely do," Tasha agreed. "Marcus hurt you. He made you question your judgment. But Sienna, Jae-won has done nothing but show up for you. He's been patient. He's been respectful. He's been exactly what you needed, and you're punishing him for Marcus's mistakes. That's not fair, isn't it? Look, I'm not saying you have to date him. I'm not saying you have to trust him completely. But at least give him a chance to explain what happened that night. Because I guarantee he's going through his own version of hell right now, trying to figure out what he did wrong." I knew she was right. I'd seen it in his face during our presentation, in the way he'd looked at me like he was trying to solve an impossible equation. But knowing she was right and acting on it were two different things. Then Monday happened. I was at Brewhaven trying to focus on studying when I saw him. Jae-won sitting at a table by the window, laughing with a girl I recognized from his business classes. She was pretty long black hair, perfect makeup, designer bag hanging off her chair. She touched his arm while she talked, leaning in close. Something hot and ugly twisted in my chest. I tried to look away, tried to focus on my textbook, but my eyes kept drifting back to them, watching as she smiled at him, as he smiled back. This was fine. This was what I wanted. I'd pushed him away, so of course he'd move on. This was completely, totally, absolutely fine. Except it wasn't fine at all. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until I couldn't breathe. And the worst part was that I had no right to feel this way. No right to be jealous when I was the one who'd run away. I packed up my stuff and left without finishing my coffee. For the rest of the week, every time I saw Jae-won on campus, that girl seemed to be nearby. Maybe she'd always been there and I just hadn't noticed. Or maybe he really was moving on. Either way, it hurt more than I wanted to admit. By Friday, I was miserable. I snapped at Tasha over nothing, nearly cried during an exam I actually knew the material for, and seriously considered transferring to a different university just to avoid my feelings. Instead, I did what I always did when life got overwhelming. I went to work. My mom owned a small diner about 20 minutes from campus. I'd been working weekend shifts there since freshman year, both to help her out and to make some extra money. The familiar routine of taking orders and refilling coffee was exactly what I needed. I was wiping down a table, when the bell above the door chimed. I didn't look up immediately, just called out my standard greeting. "Welcome to Rosie's. Grab any seat and I'll be right with you." I was hoping for table 5. My head snapped up so fast I nearly gave myself whiplash. Jae-won stood in the doorway, looking slightly uncertain but determined. He wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, and he looked so good it actually made me angry. "What are you doing here?" I managed to say. "Having dinner. I've heard the food here is amazing." "How did you even know?" "You mentioned it once. Said your mom made the best peach cobbler in Georgia." He remembered that, from a conversation weeks ago that I'd barely remembered myself. He walked over to table 5, my mom's favorite table, the one with the best view of the street, and sat down. I had no choice but to follow with my order pad. "What can I get you?" I asked, my voice strained. "What do you recommend?" "The meatloaf's good, so's the chicken fried steak." "I'll take the meatloaf, and a slice of that famous peach cobbler." I scribbled down his order, very aware of my mom watching from behind the counter, her eyebrows raised with interest. When I brought his food out, he thanked me politely, like I was just his server and not the girl who'd been avoiding him for 2 weeks. He ate slowly, pulled out a book, and seemed perfectly content to spend his evening there. By the time he finished, my shift was almost over. He paid his bill and left a tip that was 3 times the amount of his meal. And on the receipt, he'd written, "Please tell your mom the food was incredible. Tell Sienna I'll be back next week." My mom came over the second he left, practically vibrating with curiosity. "Who is that gorgeous young man?" she asked. "Nobody, Mama, just a customer." "Just a customer who knows your name, knows you work here, and tips like he's trying to pay off my mortgage. Baby, try again." I sighed. "His name is Jae-won. He's a friend from school. A friend who looks at you like you hung the moon and stars." "Mama." "Sienna Rose Brooks, I didn't raise a fool. That boy is interested in you, and unless my eyes are completely shot, you're interested right back. It's complicated." She cupped my face in her hands, her palms warm and calloused from years of hard work. "Love is always complicated, baby, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it. Your daddy and I, we were complicated too. Different backgrounds, different dreams. But we chose each other every single day, and it was the best decision I ever made." My throat tightened. My dad had passed when I was 7, but my mom still talked about him like he'd just stepped out for groceries. "But what if I get hurt again?" I whispered. "Then you get hurt." "But baby, what if you don't? What if this is something real and beautiful, and you miss it because you're too afraid to reach for it? Some risks are worth taking." True to his word, Jae-won came back the next week, and the week after that. He always sat at table 5, always ordered something different, always left a generous tip. Sometimes he brought work, sometimes he brought a book, sometimes he just sat and watched the street. And always, he was polite and kind to me. Never pushing, never demanding, just being present. My mom fell in love with him by week 3. He complimented her cooking, asked about the recipes, told her stories about his own mother's cooking back in Korea. By week 4, she was giving him extra portions and refusing to let him pay full price. "Mama, you can't give away food," I protested after one particularly generous meal. "I can do what I want with my food, and that boy is hungry for more than just a meal." She wasn't wrong. On week 5, it was just Jae-won and one other customer when I brought out his order. He'd gotten the meatloaf again. He'd told my mom it reminded him of a Korean dish his grandmother used to make. "Sienna, can you sit with me for a minute?" he asked as I set down his plate. I looked at my mom, who made shooing motions with her hands. Traitor. I slid into the booth across from him, my heart hammering. "I'm not going to do this forever," he said without preamble. My stomach dropped. "Do what?" chase you, wait for you, hope that maybe you'll give me a real chance. He set down his fork and looked directly at me. I meant what I said. I'm not him. I'm not the guy who hurt you. But I can't keep trying to prove that if you won't let me. Jae-won, let me finish, please. He took a breath. These past weeks, coming here, seeing you, it's been the best part of my days. Even though you barely talk to me, even though I know you're keeping me at arm's length, just being near you makes everything better. But I'm tired, Sienna. I'm tired of pretending this doesn't hurt. I'm tired of watching you build walls that I don't know how to climb. His voice cracked slightly on the last word, and something inside me cracked too. That girl, I blurted out. At the coffee shop, the one you were with. Understanding dawned on his face. Her name is Minji. She's from Seoul. She was asking me about business internship programs because she wants to apply next semester. Oh, I didn't realize you'd seen us. I didn't realize you cared. I couldn't finish the sentence because it was a lie, and we both knew it. Jae-won reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of mine. Not touching, but close enough that I could feel the warmth. Sienna, I need to know. Is there any chance, any possibility that you might let me in? Because if there's not, if this really is a lost cause, then I need to know so I can start trying to move on. But if there's even the smallest chance, I'll wait. I'll keep showing up. I'll keep trying. I just need to know. I looked at his hand, so close to mine. At his face, open and vulnerable, in a way that made my chest ache. At this boy who'd been nothing but patient and kind and present, even when I'd given him every reason to walk away. And I thought about what my mom had said, about risks worth taking. I'm scared, I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. I know. I don't know if I know how to do this, how to trust someone with my heart again. I know that too. But I swallowed hard. I think I might want to try. His face transformed. Hope bloomed across his features like flowers in spring. Yeah? Yeah, but slow, okay? Because if you hurt me, if you turn out to be like him, I don't think I'll survive it. I won't, he said fiercely. Sienna, I swear to you, I won't. I finally closed the distance between our hands, my fingers brushing his. The touch was electric, sending shivers up my arm. Okay, I whispered. Okay. That night, after my shift ended, we sat in my car in the parking lot and just talked. About everything and nothing. About what scared us, and what we hoped for, and what we wanted from this tentative thing growing between us. I can't promise I won't mess up, I told him. I'm going to be weird about things. I'm going to pull back sometimes. I'm going to be suspicious of things that probably don't deserve suspicion. And I can't promise I'll always know the right thing to say or do, he countered. I'm going to be learning too. But Sienna, I can promise that I'll try. Every single day, I'll try. That's all I can ask. He reached over and tucked a curl behind my ear, his touch gentle. Can I kiss you? My breath caught, the memory of that night in his apartment flooding back. But this time felt different. This time, I was choosing it instead of running from it. Yes. He leaned across the console slowly, giving me time to change my mind. But I didn't want to change my mind. For the first time in months, I wanted to be brave. When his lips touched mine, it was soft and sweet and perfect. Not demanding, not overwhelming. Just right. When we pulled apart, he was smiling. I've wanted to do that since the first time I saw you. When was that? Orientation. You were arguing with the housing director about getting a room closer to campus because your mom couldn't afford the gas money for the FAR dorms. You were fierce and honest and completely unafraid. I thought you were the most incredible person I'd ever seen. I felt tears prick my eyes. You remember that? I remember everything about you. Over the next few months, we figured it out together. There were hard moments, times when my insecurities flared up and I lashed out. Times when he didn't understand why I needed space. Times when we had to navigate the curious stares and occasional racist comments from people who couldn't understand our relationship. But there were beautiful moments too, like when he video called his parents and introduced me, and his mother cried happy tears because she said I made her son smile in a way she hadn't seen in years. Like when my mom pulled him aside and told him he was exactly the kind of man she'd always hoped would find me. Like late nights studying together, where he'd braid my curls while I quizzed him on business terminology, or early mornings where we'd watch the sunrise and talk about our dreams. He showed me his architecture sketches, beautiful, intricate designs that took my breath away. I held his hand while he called his father and told him, firmly but respectfully, that he was changing his major. His father didn't take it well at first, but Jae-won stood his ground. "You taught me that," he told me later. "You taught me that some things are worth fighting for, even when it's scary." I aced my nursing exams. He designed a building that won a student competition. We celebrated each other's victories and comforted each other through defeats. And slowly, carefully, my walls came down. 3 months into officially being together, we were walking across campus when we ran into Marcus. He was with a new girl, his arm around her shoulders, in that possessive way I remembered too well. "Sienna," he said, his eyes lighting up like we were old friends instead of exes with bad blood between us. "Long time no see." "Marcus." My voice was cool. His gaze slid to Jae-won. "So this is the new guy, huh? The Korean exchange student everyone's talking about." I felt Jae-won tense beside me, but he didn't say anything. Just wrapped his arm around my waist in a gesture that was supportive, not possessive. "This is my boyfriend," I said firmly. "And we're actually late for something, so—" "Your boyfriend," Marcus repeated, like the words were funny. "Man, you really traded up, didn't you? From basketball player to rich foreign kid." "That's enough," I said, my voice sharp. But Jae-won surprised me by stepping forward slightly, his voice calm but firm. "I don't know what happened between you two, and honestly, it doesn't matter. What matters is that Sienna deserves respect, which is something you clearly never learned to give. We're leaving now." He guided me away before Marcus could respond, and I felt something inside me shift, because Jae-won hadn't gotten aggressive or tried to prove something. He'd simply stood up for me and walked away, choosing our peace over pointless conflict. "You okay?" he asked once we were out of earshot. "Yeah," I said, and realized I meant it. Actually, I'm really okay. Seeing him didn't hurt like I thought it would. Good, because he doesn't deserve to take up space in your head. I stopped walking and turned to face him, right there in the middle of campus, with students flowing around us. I cupped his face in my hands. "I love you," I said. The words tumbled out before I could second-guess them. "I know it's only been 3 months, and maybe it's too soon, but I love you, and I trust you, and I'm so glad I said yes to that coffee." His eyes went wide, then soft, then so full of emotion I could barely stand to look at him. "I love you too. I've loved you since you turned me down in that cafe, if I'm being honest." "That's ridiculous." "It's the truth. You taught me what it feels like to be seen for who I really am. Not the money, the family name, or the expectations. Just me." He kissed me right there in front of everyone, and I didn't care who was watching. By the time graduation rolled around a 1.5 years later, we'd become that couple. The one everyone pointed to as proof that opposites attract, that love can bridge any divide, that sometimes the best relationships start with a no that eventually becomes a yes. My mom and his parents video called regularly, sharing recipes and stories. Tasha had made it her personal mission to document our entire relationship through an increasingly ridiculous collection of photos. Jae-hyun claimed credit for everything since we'd done our first project at their apartment. On graduation day, I stood in my cap and gown with my nursing degree, looking out at the sea of people gathered to celebrate. My mom was in the front row, crying happy tears. Next to her, Jae-won's parents had flown in from Seoul, his mother holding a sign with both our names on it. And Jae-won stood beside me in his own cap and gown, his architecture degree earned despite his father's initial resistance. His father had eventually come around, especially after seeing his son's award-winning designs. "We did it," I said, squeezing his hand. "We did," he agreed. "Ready for what comes next?" What came next was me starting my residency at Atlanta General Hospital, working toward my dream of emergency medicine. What came next was Jae-won accepting a position at a prestigious architecture firm that specialized in sustainable community design. What came next was us moving into a small apartment together, learning how to navigate real life beyond the campus bubble. What came next was hard and beautiful and messy and perfect. 6 months after graduation, on a random Tuesday night, while we were assembling furniture for our living room, Jae-won set down the instruction manual and looked at me. "Do you remember that first day in the cafe?" he asked. "When I humiliated you in front of half the campus?" "Yeah, I remember." "You didn't humiliate me. You challenged me. You made me work for something for the first time in my life. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me." I set down my screwdriver and crawled over to where he sat. "Where are you going with this?" "I'm going to the part where I tell you that every single day since then has been a gift. Even the hard days, even the days we fought or didn't understand each other. Because every day with you is a day I get to love you, and that's more than I ever hoped for." My heart started pounding. "Jae-won." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. My breath stopped entirely. "I'm not asking today," he said quickly. "I know we're young. I know we're still figuring things out. But Sienna, I want you to know that this is where we're heading. This is what I want. When you're ready, when we're both ready, I'm going to ask you to marry me. And I really hope you'll say yes. But until then, I want you to have this." He opened the box. Inside was a delicate ring with a small diamond, simple and perfect. "It's a promise," he said softly. "A promise that I'm in this for the long haul, that I choose you every single day, that what we have is real and worth protecting. You don't have to wear it if you don't want to, but I wanted you to have it, to know." Tears were streaming down my face. "Put it on me." "Yeah? Yeah." He slid the ring onto my right hand, the metal cool against my skin. Then he kissed me, soft and sweet and full of promise. "I love you," I whispered against his lips. "I love you too. Thank you for saying no to me that day." I laughed through my tears. "Thank you for not giving up when I did." "Never," he said fiercely. "I'll never give up on us." And he didn't. 2 years later, he asked me properly. On the beach in Georgia, where I'd grown up, with my mom hiding behind a sand dune with a camera, and his parents video calling from Seoul. He'd designed and built a small pavilion right there on the sand, something temporary but beautiful, just for that moment. "You can't have me," you said, he reminded me, down on one knee with the sunset painting, everything gold. "But Sienna, can I have you now, for real, forever?" "Yes," I said, pulling him up and kissing him before he could even get the ring out. "Yes, yes, yes." Our wedding was small and perfect, a blend of cultures and traditions, of Korean and Southern, of his world and mine coming together in something entirely new. My mom cried the entire ceremony. His parents gave a blessing in Korean that his mother translated, her voice shaking with emotion. And when the officiant pronounced us married, when Jae-won kissed me in front of everyone we loved, I thought about that girl in the cafe who'd said no because she was too scared to say yes. I thought about how sometimes the best things in life are the ones that terrify us. I thought about how love isn't about being fearless. It's about being brave enough to be vulnerable, to take the risk, to trust that maybe this time things will be different. And as we danced our first dance as husband and wife, Jae-won's hand gentle in mine, his smile brighter than any star, I knew that saying yes eventually, finally, when I was ready, was the best decision I'd ever made. Because you can't have me, I'd told him once. But the truth was simpler and more profound. He could have me, all of me, my fears and my dreams, my past and my future, my careful heart that he'd earned the right to hold. And I could have him too. Not because he was rich or handsome or persistent, though he was all those things, but because he was kind, because he was patient, because he saw me and loved what he saw. Because some princes aren't princes at all until someone brave enough shows them how to be real. And some girls who say no are really just waiting for the right moment to say yes. The end. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Comment below and tell me what you learned from Sienna and Jae-won's journey. Were you team say yes immediately, or did you understand why Sienna needed time? Let me know where you're watching from, and don't forget to check out my other stories. Until next time, remember that your worth is never determined by who wants you, but by how you choose to protect and value yourself. Sometimes the best love stories start with a no that becomes a yes when the time is right.